The sun hung low over the horizon, casting a warm, amber glow across the beach. The waves lapped lazily at the shore, the rhythmic sound almost hypnotic. I walked slowly, letting my feet sink into the cool, wet sand, the morning air crisp and fresh. For years, this had been my sanctuary, a place where I could think without interruption, where the mistakes and weight of the past seemed to fade with each step. I wasn't alone this morning. Elena walked beside me, her laughter soft, blending perfectly with the sound of the waves. We had met a year ago, after I had rebuilt myself quietly and deliberately, taking care not to rush anything that mattered. There was no grand declaration, no fireworks, just a steady, calm companionship, the kind that felt like a home you never had to leave. The beach was mostly empty, save for a few early joggers and a couple of families, setting up their spots for the day. I noticed someone approaching from the distance, a figure I didn't expect. At first I thought my eyes were playing tricks. The shape, the posture, the way she carried herself. It was familiar but distant, like a memory you can't fully recall. As she drew nearer, recognition hit me like a sudden wave. 3 years of no contact, and there she was, my wife, the woman who had once been the center of my life, now walking toward me as if the years hadn't passed. Yet everything between us had shifted irreversibly. I glanced at Elena, sensing the unease that came with the unexpected encounter. Elena's gaze followed mine, and her hand found mine instinctively. It was subtle, quiet, a shared acknowledgement that some moments required no words. My wife stopped a few meters away, her expression frozen for a second as she registered who was with me. Her face changed, almost imperceptibly at first. Then more clearly, the composure slipping, revealing a flicker of disbelief and regret. It wasn't anger. It wasn't jealousy. It was the sudden, stark realization that the life she had walked away from was no longer hers to claim. Time seemed to stretch. The distance between us felt both small and vast, compressed by history, yet expanded by the life that had grown in her absence. I remembered the last conversation we had, the abrupt, final words that had closed our chapter. It had been abrupt, leaving too many things unsaid, too many questions unanswered. But now, standing here, the truth was undeniable. The choices made then had shaped the present. Her eyes flicked to Elena. Recognition, understanding, a quiet acknowledgement that the bond I had, built in the years she was gone, was not something that could be erased or undone. It was not a confrontation. There was no dramatic shouting, no public unraveling, just a glance that carried the weight of unspoken truths. I noticed her shoulders slump slightly. The small, almost imperceptible shift was all the answer I needed. The life she had left behind had moved forward. I hadn't lingered in bitterness, hadn't allowed the past to define me. The world hadn't stopped. I hadn't stopped. I took a deep breath, letting the salty air fill my lungs. Elena squeezed my hand gently, her presence a calm anchor. I realized then that this moment, brief, charged and yet silent, was less about my former wife and more about the quiet confirmation of self, the permanence of the decisions we make, the reality that life continues, whether we stay or leave. My wife opened her mouth, perhaps to speak, perhaps to reach for something that no longer existed, but she paused. And in that pause, everything was said. I did not answer her. I did not need to. Silence was enough. The tide rolled in, the foam brushing against our ankles. I took a step forward, and Elena followed. My wife lingered for a moment, staring at us, as if trying to reconcile what she had known with what she now saw. Then she turned, walking in the opposite direction, retreating into the sand and the morning sunlight. The waves crashed gently, steady and unchanging. I felt a sense of calm I hadn't realized I had been missing. This encounter was a reminder, not a wound, a reflection of time, of choice, and of quiet strength. No triumph, no revenge, just the clarity that comes from building a life that isn't defined by someone who once left. Elena looked up at me, a soft smile playing on her lips. I returned it, and together we continued along the beach, the horizon stretching endlessly ahead. The past had arrived unexpectedly, but it no longer had power over me. 3 years of absence, one brief encounter, and a glance that said more than words ever could. The life she had walked away from was real, enduring, and unshakable. And I was still moving forward, steady, calm, and undeniably present.